The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, a showcase of new Yiddish music in Amherst for 4 whole days as we learn more about Yidstock.
And quality time with very friendly scritches seeking calves at Fletcher Farm in Southampton.
But first, dancing times are always welcome.
And when there are opportunities to hear local DJs and get your groove on for free, even betterer.
Hello. Hello.
The only other people besides standard musicians who are comfortable having headphones on.
Although a lot of times the DJs don't hear their own voice in their own head. So is that a weird experience for you, or are you used to it?
It's usually not in the headphones, is it?
When I speak at gigs, I definitely don't wear headphones because I don't want to hear my own voice. You would not think it from, my lack of ease speaking on the radio. I was on the radio for 10 years, so I should be good at that.
Yeah, but speaking into the void when you're just spinning music is different than when you're talking with people, and it feels different. And I feel the same way, making that jump this way.
Yeah, and I never partied DJ'd at all. I was like a wedding DJ for 2 events, and I was like, there is too much pressure for me to be involved in your most important day ever, so I'm out. And plus, I hate saying, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, although I actually do love saying that.
When I DJ weddings, and I never speak. I tell people when dinner is happening and when the first dance happens, and after that, I am off mic. I do not speak.
Yeah. Wow. I had to stop doing weddings. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I'm not going to play that Keith Urban song. Now your wedding's ruined. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
At the last wedding that I did, one rule they had was no hip hop.
How do you say no hip hop? What the heck kind of
I
request is that?
I had a couple say no Stevie Wonder.
What?
Oh.
And
did they then go?
I don't think I can do this.
What did he do to you? Who hates Stevie Wonder?
I'm gonna put you back.
Arguably the greatest.
You could just only play Stevie Wonder.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be fine.
It's if you're gonna say no Stevie Wonder with the caveat no post 1986 Stevie Wonder.
That's
okay,
fine.
cool.
I know, but
we can do that.
Okay, yeah, but I don't even remember what I said. I think I was like, what?
He writes songs in the key of life.
What?
I had a couple ask only for classical and Disney tunes.
No.
Yes.
I guess it's their wedding. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
You killed it at our wedding. So.
Oh my God, your wedding was the best.
That was super fun.
Oh, wait, so
No, I was super confused.
DJ Just Joan, DJ
Well,
Studebaker Hawk's wedding.
There were several of us.
Yep.
Some who are in this summer series of DJs Rec.
That's true.
Yep. You had a
just
bouncy
playing.
house.
Yes,
that
we
sounds
did.
fun.
Pirate ship bounty house.
That's so funny.
All right. Well, that's the kind of party I want to go to.
We would have invited you. This was, a few years ago.
I can be invited to the party this Wednesday, right?
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, parties in the park in Pulaski Park in downtown Northampton. 8 Wednesdays kicking off on July 9th.
So you did it just like a regular.
I know, we didn't even have
need
to
to do
do
the
the
intro
intro.
that we were going to do. Hosted by local favorite DJ Studebaker Hawk, who you just heard. The series features a rotating cast of DJs spinning everything from rare grooves and reggae to boogie and disco, but no Stevie Wonder. No, that's a lie. Whether you're a seasoned dancer or just want to vibe with the beat, the event brings community and music together in the heart of downtown.
But to combat that next year, when you do this again, you'll have to bring in a DJ who only plays Stevie Wonder.
And we are joined by DJ Just Joan. Can I say your real name?
Yes, of course.
AKA Casey Williams, and DJ Studebaker Hawk, Justin Cohen. Starting this Wednesday, July 9th, and going all the way through the end of August.
Yes.
Well, I promise at the season closer with me and Just Joan, there will be Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Yes!
This will be a disco set.
There will be Soul Makosa, I'm sure.
I love that one.
I did want to do Afrobeat in the park as one of them. I full-on ran out of dates, and there was a bunch more ideas I wanted to do.
You could creep it into September. Weather's still nice.
Bonus round.
Have to ask the
Afrobeat.
Northampton Arts Council who's behind this, right?
Yeah, we're doing it for the city of Northampton in collaboration with the Arts Council.
Is this the first year that this is happening?
Yes. That being said, the NoHo Arts Council are putting on lots of great series.
They got the bands on Brewster. What day of the week is that? Thursdays?
Thursdays.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun. So you got Wednesday and Thursdays all planned for the summer, yeah.
And they do salsa in the park and salsa on the plaza. Lots of great stuff. Basically, I sent them a line and I said, I love everything that goes on this summer, but we should have some other styles of music too. And they were like, great, you book it. And I'm like, what if you book it? And they're like, you should book it. And I'm like, okay, I'll book it.
No, you book it.
And so the first one is
book
this
it.
Wednesday, July 9th. Tell us what the theme is for the first one there, DJ Studebaker Hawk.
So DJ Le Fox will be kicking it off with a queer dance party. Imagine there will be some house music, some pop music, some queer anthems, whatever Le Fox is feeling.
And then it continues every Wednesday. There's reggae, there are rare grooves, there's Boogie in the Park with who I thought was Keith Sweat.
I wanna tease you.
Oh.
But is not the Keith Sweat that people might have heard of.
That's right.
It's such a good DJ name.
Yeah, Keith Sweat.
Keat.
Sweat.
Well, as much as I love Keith Sweat and would be honored if Keith Sweat wanted to come and spin,
Can you imagine?
these are all local to the Pioneer Valley DJs.
I love that.
Not to move straight to the end, but the closer for this series is going to be you and Casey, just Joan, coming kind of semi out of retirement to do this show.
Kinda. Yeah.
Which I'm really excited about. How did you get convinced to do this?
Well, basically, anytime Justin asks me to do something, if I can do it, I will. Usually when he has his awesome record fairs, which also happen in Northampton.
Yes, we've had you on for that.
And those are always fun. I will go and hang out with the DJs and play a set there. And for a long time, that's been like a regular thing. I haven't had a regular party in quite a while.
We're talking about Parties in the Park, which begins this Wednesday, July 9th at Pulaski Park in Northampton from 6 to 9, weather permitting, all sorts of different type of dancing that'll go on. Wooly Bully in the park with DJ Cashman and Snack Attack, who many people know in other incarnations of their professional lives. But
Wooly Bully is a revival too, because that DJing series was at the Basement in Northampton for years on Tuesday. The best dancing room in the worst smelling space.
but they always bring the party. That is such a fun dance
Never made it
party.
to the Basement.
It'll be much better to go and dance in Pulaski Park to
I think so.
what
It'll
they're
smell better at
bringing.
least.
Oh, for sure.
Most likely.
For sure.
I don't know if this is something that you're not supposed to professionally ask DJs, but do you have a song that is guaranteed to get people on the dance floor, even boring white people?
It depends the crowd a bit.
You stole my answer.
Oh,
Yeah.
You go answer.
Go ahead, DJ Just Joan.
I'm just in agreement with you.
Talk about how DJ work is crowd work.
Yeah, observing, like what's happening, who's here. If it's like ladies my age or older and we only have 20 minutes left in the party and you haven't played Gloria Gaynor yet, you know.
First I was afraid, I was petrified.
That might be what you need to do and you'll know.
Yep.
You just have a feeling. When it's a party like this where it's not a client, you're not for hire, you're just there and whoever comes. So you have to read the crowd. If it's a client type party like a wedding or another type of booking, then you've made a list and you know, okay, you can call me Al. The groom said, wait until everyone is drunk, and then your job is to like watch and then you know to execute, and then it's like an automatic. But this type of party is like a little bit more going with your gut.
This will be, we'll just feel what people want to hear. But that being said, we're doing all disco, and of course that's many different different genres within one, and many decades within one, whether that's classics from the 70s and 80s, or modern disco, or disco from all over the world.
The Grateful Dead Shakedown Street.
Let's
Exactly.
not
that
you
song.
just like oh.
I played that at a gig last year, actually.
I was at Green River Festival and somebody was covering it and I was getting into the groove and I was like, damn it. I admitted that I liked the groove.
You were getting into the groove. That's a Madonna
Groovy.
song. That's not Grateful Dead.
That's
at
just
all.
post-disco. Yeah.
The amount of people that have made forays into disco is so long. Like if we're looking at like Blondie, like part of Blondie's start is their disco song, which wasn't initially supposed to be disco. It was just supposed to be making fun of disco.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet like then we still end up with Heart of Glass.
They were too good at it.
80-year-old Debbie Harry as of last week. Oh my goodness. Made me feel
I bet she still looks
She's still
fantastic.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love Blondie.
I would say sometimes with crowds, you go fishing. You play something to see how they're going to react. and whether they react or not dictates where things might go. And there's definitely been events where it's like, all right, I fished in these 7 directions and none of them worked, so they don't feel like dancing yet. We'll try again in 15 minutes.
Yep.
Are there times where you like played a song that you thought might hit and then you fade it out into something else?
Oh, yeah.
You got That's a technique that you should
Yeah.
use.
You're like, this isn't working.
There's nothing to be ashamed of for doing that.
No need to waste time.
Not a Barry White crowd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too much of anything is not good for you, baby.
You got your answer. Move on as quickly as you can.
Unless it's a song that I put on for me, which I usually do towards the end of the set because I'm selfish.
I promise you I'll be dancing at our party, which is the closer of the season, but at all of the parties.
Because you're the host for all of them, right? Because you
I
had to
am
curate it. The Northampton Arts Council made you.
Twisted your arm.
Yeah, and that is DJ Studebaker Hawk, and we're also joined by DJ Just Joan, who are both going to close out this Parties in the Park series at the end of August. The series begins this Wednesday, July 9th. Is there one disco song/artist that you wish more people knew about that you will likely play on that last Parties in the Park on August 27th? DJ Just Joan.
Well, I always like to sneak in Soul Makossa if I can. And
I do
a
love that one.
lot of people know Soul Makossa, but a lot of people don't. But they might know that hook that obviously Michael Jackson sampled.
And Rihanna, who I believe they wanted to sue both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always like to just throw that in on one end or another of maybe the actual Michael Jackson song too. So people are like, oh,
This is where it comes from. I love that.
You know.
That aha factor.
Yeah.
Apart from racism, why do you think people hate disco so much?
And homophobia.
And homophobia, okay? Do people really hate it, or do they think they're supposed to?
The disco backlash of the early 80s, I like to hope that is in the past, that people don't still feel that way. The whole disco sucks movement, which I would say came out of homophobia and racism at the
Yeah,
time.
agreed.
I like to think that we've grown beyond that a bit.
I think so. Johnny Rotten loves disco.
Yeah, love what you love.
Love what
you
you
hear the
love.
disco. What is there not to love?
Right?
It'd be like saying you don't love Stevie Wonder.
It'd be
I mean, what the hell?
what the hell
I
is
can't
wrong
get,
with you?
I can't get over this.
You don't like to move your body to 4 on the floor? Come on.
Right? Not liking Stevie Wonder is like not liking dumplings.
I hate
like
dumplings.
Wait, you don't
Just
like
kidding. Can you
dumplings?
imagine?
My heart stopped.
I have a T-shirt that says that. That is the most famous thing about me. It weaves its way into so many segments on
teed
this
that
show.
up for
yes,
you.
Thank you.
You're
It's based
welcome.
on a dumpling shop in P-Town called Kung Fu Dumplings. It's their slogan.
Not only have I been there, I will be back there in August.
Oh, well, that's the only place you can get the T-shirt, unless you buy the bootleg versions online that popped up because my back became famous because Billie Eilish tweeted the picture out. Anyway,
In similar fashion to like getting people on the floor, is there a song that you sneak into sets that you know you get people going, what is this? What is this?
There's a song from a few years ago that's like a modern disco song by Sam Redmore called I Just Can't Wait. I played it almost every gig the year that it came out, and I still always bring it and might play it and often gets asked. There's a lot.
Remember that one, Inspector Norse?
Oh, yeah.
Todd
Terje. Yeah.
That one, I wouldn't say it's disco, but it's so dancey and weird. People are just like, what's happening? I have a fantasy of like at some parade, maybe Pride Parade, having like a dance troupe do a rehearsed dance routine with costumes and a whole thing. I have it in my head. It's like, imagine Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation.
yes.
I'm so in.
But you're, okay.
Yeah, no,
But
I'm
khaki color, not black. And the song Inspector Norse, Todd Terje, it's wacky. And I try to sneak that one in from time to time.
I feel like we shouldn't leave without, Casey, at least you telling us a little bit of what you're doing instead of DJing so much anymore, because it's beautiful. And full disclosure, I have several pieces.
I also will say you, for a long time, were like the go-to party DJ in the Valley. Like every big event,
kidding me?
DJ Just Joan was there.
Yeah. Anytime I saw your name on a poster, I'm like, oh, that party's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like,
you guys. Well, it's always going to be a passion, and I will never stop. I think for the last couple of years, though, it's just on a lull. But now I'm focused more on artwork right now, doing craft fairs and selling maps.
Talk about the maps.
Hand illustrated
Because
maps.
if you love Western Mass, this is big
love-
right in your wheelhouse too. You brought one.
I did. I brought a Springfield. I don't know if you guys have one of these.
We don't have a Springfield, and we should have a Springfield.
So to explain what you've drawn here, it looks a little bit like a postcard. It's got the city of Springfield. It's got different neighborhoods and iconography. What else?
I started maybe 12 years ago after I left Boston and was living out here again and decided to go full-time art and was going to be a craft show person where you set up your tent and your booth and everything. And I was like, what should I have in my booth that's like small and under $40? And I was like, I'll draw my hometown because the craft fair I was doing was in my hometown, which is also near the Quabbin. So I was doing like a Quabbin illustration, Athol orange, and people really responded to it. So I've just continued that. So 12 years later, I have almost all of Franklin County illustrated, individual towns, a lot of Hampshire, some of Hamden. And it's just an ongoing project that I never thought, I'm going to draw all 358 towns of Massachusetts. I mean, at the rate that I do them, I may be like 100 years old and on a radio show again one day, like, she did it, everybody.
When that happens, let us know.
She finally finished Bill Ricca. Like, I don't know. And people ask me all the time, and there's so many I don't have yet, but I'm always working on new ones. And so the Springfield one has Taj Mahal on it.
That's so cool.
I mean,
they're all
the musician, not
hero.
the
Yes,
the musician.
India. Yeah.
No, they're all beautiful and they're all really well done. It's
God,
a really
thank
cool
you.
way to, like, if you're not that familiar with a town that you maybe have moved to or even one that you've lived in for years, to find those little cool spots in your town and maybe get a little bit more comfortable with its geography.
Yeah, and if you love your town, it's fun to have a little map on the wall and the things that you love. DJ Just Joan, whose real name is Casey Williams, if we want your maps, where do we go to find them?
I have an Etsy store, but I also work part-time at Loot in Turner's Falls.
Where I see my Montague one.
Yeah, I see your lovely wife in Loot sometimes with your cool kids. And I work part-time there, and they carry maps there. They also are for sale at other stores like Assemble in Northampton and a bunch of places around, but it's all listed on my website.
And DJ Studebaker Hawk, Parties in the Park, your curation, you're hosting this starting Wednesday, going all the way through the end of August. One more time, who's kicking it off this Wednesday?
Kicking off this Wednesday is Le Fox doing a queer dance party in the park.
And we'll round off with both of you spinning disco on Wednesday, August 27th, Pulaski Park in Northampton, 6 to 9, weather permitting. It's going to be a blast.
I can't wait.
I feel like they should give you a rain location because this is too much fun to cancel if the sun doesn't come out.
I know. What are we going to do?
If only there were a giant theater right next door.
If this theater is listening and wants to be our rain location, we will say yes.
I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Check out the full lineup of DJs playing in between Le Fox this Wednesday and Just Joan and Studebaker Hawk on August 27th by heading to Northampton Art Council's website.
Also, the day of the event, check their Instagram page where they'll post by 10 a.m. if the party is canceled due to weather.
And see all the other fun programming they have in store for Pulaski Park while the weather getting is good.
And we'll hear about new waves in Yiddish music with Susan Bronson, one of the founders of Yidstock.
After we hang out with the baby cows in Southampton at Fletcher Farm and hear how they're helping to shape the farmers of the future.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering skylights, siding, gutters, and doors. WindowWorldOfWesternMA.com.
Are you coming over to say how pretty you are? This is why people keep leaning towards the jerseys. They're such pretty cows.
They're classic-looking cows.
They're real sassy. If there's trouble to be had, it's the jerseys. These little gate panels right here, they have figured out how to, and they'll free themselves. Like, they're smart little things, they are. But they are a lot of fun because they've got that sass. I feel like I relate to that a little bit. They'll beat up, people ask me all the time, like, how did because the jerseys only get to about half the size of a Holstein, and they're like, they get beat up. I'm like, no, I've watched jerseys push Holsteins right out of the way to get into the food.
They're from Jersey.
Do
They're
not
tough.
care. They do not care. They'll do do what
They're
they
like
have
the
to do.
Sopranos of cows.
Yeah, they are, because when they're all out on pasture together, they're very cliquey. You'll see them, they're all out on their own having like a little meeting out there.
We are right off Gun Road in Southampton for another Local Hero Spotlight with Jennifer Cord, the new executive director of CISA, and Nicole Schwab. Fletcher Farm is the name of your farm. You're a Fletcher.
I am.
Your parents are Fletchers. I interviewed them for a CISA segment. They were saying 15 years ago or so. And we were talking all about how they raised children on their farm. And now, 5 weeks ago, you just had a baby?
Yes. Yes, I did. Thank you. Yes.
What's the baby's name?
His name is Wyatt.
While you are raising a baby on a farm, you are raising baby cows on a farm.
I am, yes. The calves have always been my favorite part of the dairy. I'm a little OCD about the calves, so I was joking with people when I was pregnant that I think if I can handle raising all these calves, I should be able to handle one kid.
How's it been going so far?
So far, pretty good. Yeah.
That baby was super cute in the farm store they have down there. We got tons of sweet corn and all sorts of great farm products. Tell us a little bit of the history about Fletcher Farm.
My parents actually grew up on the other side of the state in Westford and moved out here in 1989. I was just a couple years old. My dad's side of the family is where the dairy comes in, and that farm was being sold. And my parents still really wanted to dairy farm. The location we're at now started out as they were renting, and eventually in the early 90s purchased. It's been an APR farm, so protected.
Agricultural preservation restriction, not the financing for your cars?
Yes, right. And so that means you can't build on it. It's protected farmland, which is nice because it makes it a little more, sometimes affordable for especially young farmers to get out and find a property that works. And so 2 of us, my brother Matthew and I, are both home full-time on the farm working with my dad. He loves the crops and the land, and I love the animals, and we meet in the middle on both things.
And he's out with a tractor trying to bale hay before the storm we see coming over the mountain.
He just flew out of here to go. Yes, he's mad at the weatherman again, but he's got some really nice hay actually.
Screw you, Brian Lapis!
Put it to new storm team.
Yeah, I hope he gets it because then he'll be in a mood maybe.
Yeah. A mood.
Which I don't blame him.
I just want to add to the APR conversation that good moment to say this is a model where federal tax dollars, state tax dollars, local dollars protect land, keep it in farming in perpetuity. We need that pooling of money.
That calf has bangs.
We're here with your baby calves. How old are these guys?
So these are March babies.
So they're older than your baby?
Yes, they are. Bigger than him, too.
Bigger by exponential.
Yeah.
So the way we do our calves out here, these guys are a little older, but actually our babies are over there. Those guys are only a couple weeks. And so actually this whole area over here, we redid to make it great for the calves, but also great for when we do our field trip, so the kids can come out and meet the calves.
Yeah.
This calf's name here is Boom Chicka Boom.
I said a boom, chicka boom.
So we get really creative on the names, and these calves actually are both going to be 4-H projects this summer. Actually, all 5 of these are leased out to local kids to take to the fairs. So they are in the special pens to keep them cleaner and keep them from getting into mischief.
When you loan out a calf to a child, what does that entail, and what are they doing what are they doing at the fair?
Yeah, so all 3 of us grew up doing 4-H, and at the time there was a lot more farm kids, kids that were growing right up on dairies, and so we just brought our own calves. And right now there's a lot more kids leasing, so our local county club, each county has a club. So the Hampshire County Club, there's a few kids in there that have actually been leasing from me for about 7 or 8 years. And what that entails is they come out, we kind of go through the pens. Everyone picks 1, 2, 3 calves, whatever it might be. Train them how to walk on a halter, baths, haircuts, all the things. And the expectation is that they'll spend a good amount of time with them to be able to present them at the fairs. And actually they start, the first 4-H fair is the 19th. And then they go all summer right through the Biggie. The whole point of those programs for HFFA is to see if anyone might want to do this later on, right, and get them interested. And I feel really strongly, growing up in Mass 4-H was one of the best things. I don't think I would be a farmer if I didn't do Mass 4-H because it shows you there's more. If you're a farm kid, you do a lot of chores.
Yeah.
Shows you that there's more than just doing your chores every day. We got to go on trips and meet all these other great kids and travel and compete in contests and things, and it makes you appreciate the animal more. And
it's funny to me that I think are those grain silos over there?
Yeah.
One of them says farmer boy and the other one says chore time.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a little bit of chore trauma going on before 4-H hit.
They name their companies after what they assume you are or doing, maybe. I don't know.
They're not as good at naming things as you are.
Yeah.
Boom, chicka rocket,
chicka chicka boo.
What does that leasing synergy do for Fletcher Farm itself?
Because we have a pretty sizable fall retail business with our pumpkin patch, and a lot of the fairs kind of coincide. So there's Fletcher Farm animals out there. It says Fletcher on the signs at the fairs. People go through, hey, we know those guys. We go pick our pumpkins there. We do this. And the kids know, oh yeah, that's them. And as the kids are concerned, like one of my lease kids now works for me here. She milks with me. She's actually on co-op through Smith Vogue. It's so nice when you can throw a rope on a cow's head and be like, come on, we got to move you to a new pen, rather than be like, oh, she's never been touched before. So
we are sort of all benefiting from this because we desperately need new dairy farmers. I mean, dairies, there's 116 maybe left in the state of Massachusetts, and they have this really kind of outsized impact in terms of land stewardship because dairies are big and they have shaped our agrarian landscape, and we need the dairy industry to keep going strong.
Your mom's taking care of your very tiny child.
5 weeks old.
So you don't hear of a lot of new dairy farms, and I would consider this to be newer for sure. Do you know what made them want to do dairy?
My dad grew up with it, and I think, had my grandfather's farm. I'm glad we're not trying to farm in that location now because that's extremely developed. I mean, and Southampton is a lovely country town, but we have seen some real serious development happen here too. When we first moved here, there was enough dairies to have its own milk truck route. That is absolutely not the case now. The milk truck goes all over the place. But my dad loved the farm and he loved the lifestyle, and when my grandparents decided that they were done, he wasn't. My mom didn't grow up with this, but they've been together since they were 16 or something, so she kind of has, I guess. But the retail side and the farm stand, that's her baby.
How does the farm stand fit into all of it?
It's funny, it started as my mom's project, and actually my brother-in-law, so my sister works off the farm, but her husband is the other person in the stand. So, obviously the more the merrier. We'd rather keep the family members here that want to be around, and then they can have their kids hanging out too. But the farm stand started originally as just pumpkins. My parents wanted to grow pumpkins for my kindergarten class. We did pumpkins in the fall, and then we started with Christmas trees. Shortly thereafter, we get them from Cranston's up in Ashfield, so another local farm. They grow absolutely beautiful trees. And then the springtime, we're like, now what do we do? And the compost started, and so we've sort of been filling in the holes all along, and every year we seem to add something. And so now in the summer, we've got the sweet corn, and we do the flowers in the spring. But the stand has been one of those things where we're like, if we don't grow it, we're showcasing something from a farm. If you look in our dairy case, it's, we've got Echo Farm puddings. My brother interned with them in New Hampshire when he was in college. They're friends of ours. All the Cabot stuff, our family farm's milk is in there. Angie and Randy are good friends of ours up in Leiden. So, it's been a cool spot for us to be able to promote our friends and our, and there have been years where the stand carries the farm, and there's been years where the dairy carries the farm. And so it's, to be honest, that's how farming is. I think what you'll notice about most of the dairies in Mass is everybody's got a side hustle or another arm of their business, whether it's the bakery, whether it's custom cropping, other animals, beef. I mean, you kind of have to survive, but it also keeps it really interesting, and it allows for those other generations to come back if they want to. For us to afford 2 of us to be here, we have to get a little creative.
We're talking with Jennifer Kaur, the executive director of CISA, and Nicole Schwab from Fletcher Farm in Southampton. Have you ever done your own baby milking while milking a cow?
Yes, I have.
This may be a first, at least on the Fabulous 413. It's definitely a first.
They got slings for that.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right?
That is amazing.
It's a whole new thing for me, but yes, I have.
That makes you like a superhero in my mind.
It's harder for me to get used to wearing him like in the sling and trying to do my chores and not like accidentally bump him into stuff, because I'm always just like going in 10 directions. I'm like, oh, there's a kid. I got to slow down a little.
Are you hand milking still?
No.
Okay.
No.
That would be even crazier.
Crazy. No.
Where does the milk go? Where are you selling your milk to here at Fletcher Farm?
So we're part of the Agrimark Cabot Cooperative. So our milk, we're one of the closest farms actually to the plant in West Springfield. Our milk goes down there and they make butter. Occasionally it also goes to the Hood plant in Agawam, so just in your gallons.
I think people should know this for sure. Cabot is a co-op and it is local milk. And I am devotee of Cabot everything, cheese and butter.
Cabot is New England and New York, and the nice part about this area is there are a fair amount of plants very close by that process milk. So they come here at 3 o'clock and pick up our milk, and it's at the plant, and there's one more stop, and then they're heading there. So it's really fresh, and if it's going to Hood, that has a shelf life. That goes and it's going to be in the stores in like less than 2 days.
But that's the other thing to remember too. Hood is also local milk. Like I grew up on Hoodsies. That's local milk.
But other places, around here, we have friendly Friendlies, and the milk goes to Friendlies in Wilbraham. That it's making ice cream. This is milk. They're not going to haul milk in from the West Coast when it's right here and we have it. And so when you see dairies that don't bottle on the farm necessarily, but it's going right to it, and it'll be right back in your store fast. And it's a good excuse to eat a lot of cheese. We love cabbage
It's
cheese.
amazing product.
Yes.
And also I like ice cream quite a bit. So please, so
If
yes.
your wife wasn't making you yogurt, you could have cabbage yogurt, which is
That's
pretty
true.
spectacular too.
Yeah.
How many breeds of cow I see at least two.
Two in these groups here. There's 7 breeds of dairy cows. Ours are primarily Holsteins and Jerseys. The Jerseys make that really rich butterfat milk, and then the Holsteins make a lot of it. Angus is the only beef breed we do.
As a kid, Nicole Schwab, who grew up here on Fletcher Farm with your parents doing 4-H, what made you want to stay? And do you feel like you're going to raise your own brand new 5-week-old child in the way of the farm?
I definitely will be raising him here with me. I feel like farm kids, it's a different kind of childhood, right? You have a lot more responsibility as a farm kid, and you don't always love that. Or your friends are going out to do something fun and you still have to do your chores first. That is not fun when you're 14 years old, 15. But then, looking back now, we saw a lot of things. We learned about the circle of life here pretty early on, and we learned about responsibility. And looking back on that now, it probably kept us out of trouble. And I think when I went to college, I went to school for dairy as well. I worked at their dairy. I went to the University of New Hampshire. Their dairy is a research farm. They do nutritional studies there. And so when I got a job down there, you are pretty much told these animals are on a research project. Do not screw it up. Do not. Like, they are on a nutrition study. They are getting X amount of pounds of this per day and this to eat. And if you screw it up, you screw up the whole study. And so I think that is where I really caught attention for detail. You're watching animals for, they can't tell you if they don't feel well. You're looking for a droopy ear. You're looking for them not to eat all their grain, whatever it is. But I didn't have that when I was younger, because I was like, let's go. And, now I'm completely the opposite. I'll stay here all day.
I'm thinking about this upcoming fair season and kind of like this opportunity that you guys are providing here for young people. And it's an opportunity for all of us to put down the elephant ear and go into the cow barn and the sheep barn and learn a little something. This is an opportunity for contact.
The livestock barn isn't other people's first stop at the fair, because it's my first stop at the fair.
Not.
A lot of people kind of run right through it to get to the food and the other stuff. But truly, the kids want to answer the questions, and we tell them, be honest with the public. Explain to them what you're doing with your projects, because a lot of people are more removed now from farming. It's not like everybody's family has a farm in it anymore. And also there's a lot of false stuff in the world about, what farmers do or don't do to their animals and the way we take care of them. And I feel like the fairs is the place we get some to me, they're crazy questions, just because I'm like, why would you think we do that? Or whatever people think. I'm like,
Wide Web.
man, get off the internet. We're just trying to take care of animals here. I tell a lot of people that people don't farm because of the money. It's too much work. You got to really love this. And I don't know a single dairy farmer that doesn't either love their animals or their cow or their land or both. You got to really, really like it to be out here all year round and every day. And it's our responsibility as farmers, especially farmers in the community. We have people that here to visit these calves every single day. I have nothing to hide. I can't. The calves are here, and people can come and see them and see what we do every day. And I hope that that's what people take away from talking to the kids and visiting. And all the fairs are great. Go out and enjoy it. It's a nice way to spend a Saturday.
Are you calving all year round, or do you try to have more calves ready for fair season for the kids to come and show?
We calve all year round because calving cows in equals milk production. So as some cows are calving in, some other cows are getting ready to go on rest. A lot of people don't know, again, with the misconceptions, people think they just milk and milk and milk. No, they'll milk for, usually the standard is about 305 days, and then they get a couple month hiatus while they're getting ready to have their next calf. It's called a dry period, and that's what it is. Our dry cows right now are all out on pasture. It's like going to summer camp, and I love it. I'm like, goodbye, go, shoo, less mouths to feed, goodbye. Also, I do try hard not to have too much going on January, February, because who wants to go from a nice 101 degree environment to welcome to the world it's -10? Yeah.
So I'm also just thinking about the landscape and how your cows actually are maintaining this landscape.
Yeah, no, we don't pasture everybody all the time. We just can't. We don't have the land, but we pasture as much as we can, and then the rest of it, we have to make enough feed for them to eat all year round. So my dad and my brother do a really good job of trying to get as many good cuts of hay off the field. Like right now we've been playing this game of like, when is it not going to rain all spring? And now all of a sudden it's dry. So they're running to get all the hay before we get another whatever pattern is coming. But, we grow all our own corn for our cows. Barstow's over in Hadley, they custom chop for us, so they bring all their equipment over and chop for us so we can get it done. They have a really huge, awesome chopper that gets it done in like 2 days. It would take us like 3 weeks. Again, the farmers, we all kind of, everyone knows each other, everybody kind of works together, and so they come and chop, but it's all our corn and it goes in our bunk, and then we have enough feed to feed them all year round, and then we make our hay. And yeah, it maintains, we maintain a couple hundred acres here. We actually maintain one of the biggest pieces of conservation ground in this town for hay. The public likes it because they can go walk their dogs and not be wading through chest-high grass, and it's all a whole circle of taking care of the land and taking care of the animals, for sure.
Thanks again to Nicole Schwab at Fletcher Farm in Southampton and Jennifer Core from CISA, the local hero. Folks, you can find out about all of our local heroes at buylocalfood.org.
Up next.
You go ahead.
Up next, break out your fiddles and clarinets. It's almost time for Yiddstock, and we'll hear all about it from Yiddish Book Center President Susan Bronson.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, homegrown in Hatfield, Massachusetts, and providing energy savings for their customers for over 10 years. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Back to the Fabulous 413. From July 10th to the 13th, the Valley will be alive with sound as the Yiddish Book Center hosts Yiddstock, a celebration of Yiddish music and more.
The 4-day festival will include musicians and performers at the forefront of the Yiddish music scene. In addition to 7 concerts, the lineup also includes 4 workshops, 9 talks, and 2 special tours, all in celebration of Yiddish music, language, and culture. And with us to talk about the festival is one of the festival's founders, Susan Bronson.
Susan Bronson is a producer of Yiddstock and holds a PhD in Russian history and Jewish history from the University of Michigan, and has served in her current role for more than a decade. Well, not this current role. This current role is new, but your previous role as executive director, you were there for more than a decade. She's worked in nonprofit culture and higher education for more than 20 years in organizations including the Social Science Research Council in New York and Shakespeare & Co. in Lenox.
Which we love.
We do.
She currently serves as the chair of the board of the Council of American Jewish Museums and on the board of 7,000 Languages, an organization dedicated to saving and teaching indigenous language, and is the president of the Yiddish Book Center. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thrilled to be here.
No, our pleasure.
Yeah, we were on a spate there last week of going to all these museums. We went to the historic Northampton, we went to the Benesky Museum, and we have not done a segment from the Yiddish Book Center, but we have it in our plans to do so at some point in the future, because it is an incredible resource there, officially on the campus of Hampshire College or near the campus. How does it work?
I call it adjacent to the campus of Hampshire College because we own our own property. Years ago, the longtime president of Hampshire years ago wanted to create a cultural village, and at the time the Yiddish Book Center was wanting to build a home, and so purchased this property. It's part of an apple orchard, and the center built its own building. So we're our own thing, but we're adjacent to Hampshire.
So they're inviting other cultural centers to maybe get
Indeed,
on it
that's
and build their own buildings.
That's how the Carl ended up there as well.
It's really fun. I mean, it does feel like this weird community building of museums around a college.
It's totally awesome.
The Hitchcock Center is right down the street.
And that's exactly right. That's what he was trying to do. So you can have 3 really different experiences all within just 2 minutes of one another.
Cool. It's the Yiddish Book Center's origin story, which we'll get into in more depth when we actually go there one of these times and dig through the archives. But can you give us a brief history of how it came to be in Amherst, Massachusetts? I believe the biggest repository of Yiddish literature and more, at least in this country, right?
Certainly, yes. I mean, look, the story is an amazing one, which you can learn more about at another time, but I'll tell you, it was founded by a guy named Aaron Lansky. At the time, he was 23 years old. He was a grad student of Yiddish literature, and he found out he couldn't get Yiddish books. They were being thrown away. So he set out to recover some Yiddish books, and, he thought he was going to spend a couple of years doing it. Well, 45 years later, we've collected more than 1.5 million Yiddish books, and we're like this incredible cultural space. We are much more than much more than our book collection. We're a museum, we're a cultural center, and a performing arts presenter, as Yidstock is a testament to.
I was going to say, as you can see in this festival of Yidstock, where you've segued into music, talk about the founding of the festival.
Right. So I got to the Yiddish Book Center 15 years ago. I was hired as executive director, and we had this incredible building which had just built an addition, which included a performance hall which seats more than 200 people. And I said, we need to do something cool with this space. And I also felt that because of where we're located, we needed to do something that was going to bring people for like more than one show or one day. So I was inspired to do something around Yiddish music because the center hadn't done anything substantial in that way. And there was so much happening in the Yiddish music scene. People think of it as a klezmer revival, but really it's much more than that. And so, I called up a friend of mine who was a Berkshire County neighbor, a guy named Seth Rogovoy, who wrote a book called The Essential Klezmer. And I said, Seth, I'm thinking about doing a music festival, and can you help? And ever since then, Seth has been the artistic director of the music festival. He's the one who kind of curates all of the artists who come together for this festival. We sit down and talk about it, and boom. So it started as just a couple of days, and now it's a 4-day thing, and it's really become quite a tradition at the Yiddish Book Center.
You mentioned that it's more than just klezmer music. Susan Bronson, one of the producers of Yidstock, happening this weekend at the Yiddish Book Center in Amherst. Dig into that a little bit more. What is Yiddish music? I think when I think about it, I think, okay, klezmer, clarinet. The logo of the event is a clarinet, the fiddle, that kind of thing, maybe an accordion.
Right. But even getting into the catalog of one of your headliners, Klezmatics, who unfortunately are sold out in the course of your festival, you get into stuff that is a lot more like jazzy. Like they've got vocal stuff and non-vocal stuff, just the breadth of what they're getting into with Yiddish music as a base is really interesting.
Well, that's true for most of the musicians playing. I mean, klezmer, which is a traditional music of East European Jews, some people play some traditional klezmer, but a lot of people use it as a foundation and fuse it with all kinds of other traditions, whether it's jazz, whether it's Broadway. I mean, you're going to hear on Sunday night, Frank London's created this great American Yiddish, what is he calling it? He's calling it the Great Yiddish American Songbook, and he's going to be, the band's going to be doing Yiddish songs in English and English songs in Yiddish, and it's really just, I use the word mashup a lot, but it is really going to be a lot of fun. So Yiddish music, we didn't want to just do something nostalgic. We wanted to be able to showcase a lot of the new creativity that's happening in the field. Younger musicians are using Yiddish poetry to create new Yiddish music. They're taking all kinds of other traditions and bringing them together. So that's what makes it fresh and interesting. And I think it's also what makes it really great for people. You don't have to know Yiddish or know Yiddish music to enjoy this. You have to be interested in music. And if you are, you're going to have a great time because there's just so many different aspects to this.
We mentioned that one of the headliners is the Klezmatics. They've got klezmer built into their name.
Right.
Are there performances at Yidstock where there's somebody, let's say, singing in Yiddish but playing rock music or playing like a genre that doesn't have klezmer as their base but has the language as their base?
Well, that's a little bit hard for me to answer. I think yes. The answer would be yes. It's hard for me to say specifically. We've got Joanne Bortz, who's sort of a Broadway veteran, who's playing music from her new album, Lashon Hora, which I think is going to be a real mix of different music genres, and she has a deep background in Yiddish herself. We've got two younger musicians, the Abigail Reisman, and I'm just looking for the name of the band because with 7 concerts I have trouble. Two Strings with Jake Schulman-Ment and Abigail Reisman. Yeah. They're using the music idioms of Yiddish, some of this Yiddish music, but they're fusing it with a lot of different things. So, yes, they're not just taking some old klezmer music and building on it. They're taking some of those threads and carrying them forward.
And some of them are happening in team-ups that have never really been seen before that are getting their premieres at Yidstock, which is cool.
I think what's cool is, you mentioned that you were looking for clips to play, and a lot of this is so new you couldn't even find the clips.
Yeah, I saw Instagram posts, and that was it.
Right. So what happens often at Yidstock is we know, for example, the Klezmatics are going to be there. So we're, Seth will say, Lauren, Sklamberg, who's the singer and accordionist for the Klezmatics, why don't you play with so-and-so? And so he'll suggest some different mixes. Musicians will know they're going to be there in the same place, so they'll add to each other's bands, and they'll create new kinds of things, like Sunday night's concert is a completely new thing, never been played before, never done before. Musicians from the entire festival will all be on stage together, and I can tell you, it's just going to be just really fun. So yeah, it's great to be able to foster new creativity at the festival itself.
Cool. And the festival we're speaking of is Yidstock. It's a 4-day festival from July 10th through the 13th this weekend at the Yiddish Book Center near Hampshire College's campus in Amherst. And we'll take a little break here and then come back and talk about the importance of preservation of language and how Yidstock plays into the preservation of the Yiddish language with Susan Bronson, producer of Yidstock.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We're talking about Yidstock with the producer of Yidstock, Susan Bronson, who's also the chair of the board of the Council of American Jewish Museums and on the board of 7,000 Languages that is dedicated to saving and teaching indigenous languages. Setting indigenous languages that are threatened to music seems to me to be a great way to make sure that those languages
stay
live
preserved.
On. And then they become sometimes recorded songs, which would then add to that record. Is that true? Or is that a false thought of mine?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, certainly any way that one preserves a language, whether it's by teaching people how to speak it, how to sing it, to preserve. But for us, it's really about preserving the culture writ large as well as the language. So, it's why people sometimes ask me, do we need to learn to speak Yiddish? And I say, well, that's great, but that's not at the core of what we're trying to do. Is make sure that people understand this was a global culture with great riches in it, including music. And I think people often misunderstand Yiddish. They think of it as just some funny words or a dead language or a language that somebody else's grandparents spoke and they don't know anything about it. And the Yiddish Book Center sort of showcases how vibrant the culture was and how much new creativity is happening in the culture today. So I think all of that is about preserving language, but language is intrinsically linked to culture, right?
Right.
So in preserving a language, you're preserving a culture, and in fostering an interest in the culture, you're getting people excited about potentially about learning the language. So they're kind of tied together.
This is a music festival at a book center, but one of the things happening at the center of this festival is a class on dance. Can you talk about the dance class?
Sure. There's actually 2 dance workshops, and they're sort of Yiddish dance is its own thing, which developed, again, in Eastern Europe. And since Yiddish is a diasporic language and culture, in other words, Jews lived in a lot of different places, and a lot of the influences come from the cultures around them as well. So I think if you were to participate in one of these dance workshops, there's a mix of different dance traditions that are part of it, and it's completely for beginners. You do not have to be a dancer. You don't have to be good at dancing. You just have to want to get up and try something, and they're both a lot of fun.
Also, a radio station based in New York City is part of this festival, and they have been preserving Yiddish culture on the airwaves to a certain extent. Can you talk about that?
Well, the radio station, the story behind that was an archive of a radio station that was closing, okay? A Yiddish radio station that had been on air for many, many years. And it's
WEVD, right?
WEVD, and its archives went to the New York Public Library, it's really phenomenal. They showcased music for many, many years. And Hank Osnetsky, who's one of the premier musicologists from New England Conservatory of Music and a Yiddish music specialist, is going to be talking about that collection. And the Saturday night concert also represents a historic album that was produced in 1955 that was sort of forgotten and left behind. It's really a classic. And Michael Winograd, who's a great clarinetist, is reprising that album along with a lot of other fabulous musicians, including Frank London on the trumpet and many others. So that's another way, sort of bringing back something that was seemingly lost and, showcasing it today.
And there's a talk about that particular album
Yes.
on
Yeah.
Friday as well, if you want a little bit more cultural context for it.
Yes, Hankus Netsky is delivering a talk. So for every concert, there are talks with the artists. So you can come and have a really rich experience and not see the concert in isolation, but also really kind of get a sense of what's behind the music, what's behind the artist, and so forth.
And we're talking about Yidstock, which is happening July 10th through 13th with one of the producers of Yidstock, Susan Bronson. When did the idea aha moment to say we should name it after one of the most famous music festivals in U.S. American history?
Well, that was Aaron Lansky, who's the newly retired president. We were sitting around just kind of batting ideas around, like, what should we call it? And Aaron said, I think it should be Yidstock. And then he was like, nah, I was just joking. We were like, no, it's perfect. And indeed, we went to our graphic designers and said, we're doing Yidstock. And that's how he came up with this logo of the goat with a clarinet. Because the Woodstock logo was the bird with a clarinet, and the goat is our logo, and it's also an animal that is very prevalent in Yiddish literature and so forth. So goats and clarinets go together at the Yiddish Book Center.
You also have a personal relationship with goats.
I do indeed. Yeah. My sister-in-law ran Rawsonbrook Farm in the Berkshires for many, many years, so I have a very close affiliation with goats.
I mean, they're kind of the best, especially when they're tiny.
Yes.
They're adorable, but people have said to us we should get live goats, and I'm like, no. They'll eat the building, so we're staying away from that.
But they'll also keep your lawn in order.
Oh.
They're one of the most reliable ways to get rid of bittersweet.
Well, Yidstock, it sounds like it's going to be a blast on so many different levels with the number of concerts that you're going to be performing or will be performed there at the Yiddish Book Center in Amherst. And also the talks and the history of this rich tradition and cultural tradition that is diasporic all over the globe. I can't wait to go visit our backyard, which is such a repository for this culture here very near the campus of Hampshire College. Susan Bronson, one of the producers of Yidstock, a preservationist of indigenous languages, including Yiddish, and bringing us this great festival on July 10th through 13th.
Thanks.
No, thanks for being here. 1 million books, that's so many.
I know. We're going to go read them all.
No, you just got to come and explore. Just come and explore.
Well, on the next Fabulous 413, we're broadcasting about 2 cool music things in one show.
The Springfield Jazz and Roots Festival and the new venue Hope Center, from which we will be live.
We'll speak with festival co-founder Kristen Neville.
And with Isaac Eddy and Kyle Homestead helming the sound and drive for Hope Center.
Plus live music from festival performer Waterseed.
And a cameo from the one and only Mitch Shakur.
That's tomorrow on the show. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.